Day 4, 2 second lean Japan experience, Nagoya. We woke up early in the morning and we went to the fish market, and it was always so awesome going there. And we almost looked like the Beatles walking across the street here. And we got to the fish market and it was lit up like crazy, and all the fish were out in every different variety you could possibly imagine. But the main reason we went there was to see the big tunas. And he was filleting up a big one right there when we were there. And it was just amazing watching those sharp knives cut through everything. And we caught all kinds of interesting sights and sounds, from them making the egg rolls to people eating at the little stand-up bars. And then we made it to Mifune, the first and most important stop of the entire trip. Mr. Umemura came on board, and we went on up into the main office, the Obeya room, and we saw how the whole office was laid out in an open format. And then we took a look at the new products that Mifune was developing, over 200 new products. Mifune has been working on these for almost 2 years now, and they're just about ready to launch. So it's going to be an amazing effort. Then we went down to the Kanban room, and we saw the Kanbans were printed out from the Tier 1 suppliers. And then we went out and saw the amazing die change, 5 dies changed in about 5 minutes from start to finish. It was just unbelievable watching these guys work with such fluidity without even talking or even speaking a single word to one another. They almost acted as if we weren't even there and we were standing right in their way half the time. It was just amazing. And they changed all the automation out as well. It wasn't just the molds, as well as the material handling stations down at the far end. It was quite remarkable to see these guys work this way. And they do it over and over again, sometimes as many as 10 times a day, changing these mold change out. First part, perfect, and then it goes to inspection, automation, all completely dialed in and working perfectly, passing the parts from one progressive die to the next one, to the point where we get the finished parts off the conveyor at the end. From there, first and last part, inspection, but it's really confirmation that the product has been produced and quality has been built into the process. They inspect every tolerance over and over again to make sure everything is perfect, and rarely ever find any deviation because quality has been built into the process. Next, single mold die stamping and jidoka, automation with the human touch, making sure the machine will stop when it detects any part deviation whatsoever. Mr. Umemura demonstrated the Ondon, which signaled the water spider that material was needed, parts needed to be picked up, or whatever was happening, whether there was a die change. We also saw the Mier Luca boards, which means visualization boards, where they show parts that are acceptable, parts that are not acceptable. They make everything visual, from how every employee or team member is working, as well as the defect board, how long they've gone without making a single defect, sometimes as long as 400 days. Then we went into each of the welding cells and we saw them perform amazing processes in very tight quarters with very little movement. We saw the inspection process where every hole, every detail, every weld, every part was marked and verified that the process was producing perfect parts. The tiniest burr was inspected and filed off. The part was then put on a fixture which allowed her to spin it around and make perfect inspection in a comfortable work cell. It's amazing how much time has went into developing these cells and making these things all work the way they did. She worked seamlessly from one part to another. Then we went out to the grocery store and we saw them picking parts with standard work. Everybody doing it exactly the same. Important part here is that everybody makes a declaration every morning to pick perfect parts and to make no mistakes and assume nothing. We actually did the call. We gathered around in a circle. We put the poster down on the floor, and the Chacho called out, "I will not make any defective parts. I will be conscientious. I will do my work at the highest level." All I can say is what a learning experience at Mifune. And then the Lean grocery store for lunch. We picked up our lunch real quick, and after the grocery store and we saw how that all functioned, we went over to the strawberry fields, and these were the high-tech strawberry farms where you could pick all the strawberries you wanted for 15 minutes, and we got to eat till our heart's content. And they're absolutely beautifully maintained and managed, all computer controlled for heat, moisture, and fertilization. And we got to eat them all and enjoy them on a beautiful day. It was a little windy outside, but inside it was perfect temperature. We said goodbye to everybody after we had a great visit and lunch. And then from there, we went to the dojo over at Plant 1 from Mifune. Now, this is a dojo that allows us to practice work, to practice standard work specifically. And everybody took a different cell and began the process of working together as a team. One person timing, one person performing the task within a certain criteria of time, doing the work as the work was laid out in the standard work process. It was really, really interesting. And then from there, we actually got to make a part for a Toyota van. Unbelievable that we would ever get this opportunity. But Ben-san explained to us and showed us how it was done. And then we brought 3 people into the cells, and they actually got to make a very complex part for the seat lever release on a Toyota van. Absolutely incredible. Kaylee got in there, Benita got in there, and also Henry got in there, and all of them did it. And even Michael got in there at the very end, and he got a chance to do it. Then after all that was done, Ben-san showed us the automation, which put the rivet on, and then the part was finally inspected, put into a jig, and actually put into a drawer glide to make sure that everything functioned 100% perfect, because quality is built into the process. We said our goodbyes to Mr. Umemura on a beautiful day in Nagoya and Toyota City. Wow, what a trip. Michael and Henry gave a cool little gift to Mr. Umemura, and we got our final words in, and before long we were waving goodbye, and the day you would think would finally be over with after all that, but it was still not over with. We still had one more stop, and that was to the incineration plant in Toyota City. Not to waste a single second, Mr. Amazawa gave us an amazing talk at all of his work at Toyota and Lexus over the last 40 years. And then we got to the incineration plant. We took an opening picture, and then we went up and we saw how this amazing plant manages the garbage for over 400,000 people in Toyota City. Now, there are over 1,000 plants in all of Japan. They incinerate all their garbage, and everything is done at the highest level, Japanese excellence in both cleanliness, operation speed, and efficiency. The trucks come in, they're unloaded, they go into a giant gomi pit. This big, huge crane picks everything up, mixes the garbage, and then puts it in the incineration plant after it's ground up a little bit. And it goes to a 2-stage system, it's burned at 600 degrees, and then later at 1,300 degrees. It generates about $3 million worth of power a year for the city. And then we said our goodbyes, and man, what a place this was. It really changes your perspective on what people can do with garbage when it's done well. Day 4, another amazing day in Japan.